tonight, back to work, but not by rail. As the new year starts with another walkout by train staff, parts of the capital are feeling the effects of people staying away.
It's not good for us. We're going to sit here for, maybe 2 hours to get a job.
Doesn't look like there's many people in the city today, does it?
Less passengers, less people about. It has a great impact on our daily earnings. It affects me every day, means I've got to work longer.
So how long will strikes go on? We'll be joined by Mick Lynch from the RMT union. Also ahead, 45 minutes, then we're leaving with hospital handovers taking hours. A leaked email to ITV News reveals the pressure on London ambulances. Risking lives, the damp and mould faced by renters in the capital, and the record breaker proving you never truly give up your hobbies.
Yeah, I was just sat there doing nothing, watching, so I thought I may as well start up.
Good evening. Black cab drivers waiting hours for passengers, restaurant workers unable to make shifts, and confusion for commuters. On a day when thousands should have been returning to work after the Christmas break, those coming into London were told not to do so by rail. The network is facing the worst week of disruption for 30 years. Members of the RMT union have begun their first of two 48-hour walkouts in a dispute that's been raging since June over pay and conditions. ASLEF drivers working for 15 rail companies are walking out on Thursday. There are hints, though, that a deal could be near. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
In the City of London, there were echoes of lockdown. More than 500,000 people work in the financial square mile. But today it was a ghost town with quiet streets and empty pavements. Instead of a torrent of city workers crossing London Bridge, there was a trickle.
It took me not twice as long to get here. So, yeah, not happy.
I managed to get a train, but it was absolutely heaving. I mean, people were crushed in, there's a bit of shouting going on.
I'll be more affected on Thursday when I'm going to have no trains at all.
For those able to work from home, the strike meant an extended Christmas break away from the office. That was of no comfort to staff at this city barber's shop.
It means that more people are working at home, so therefore it's had an impact on us, whereas a lot more quieter. So hopefully as time goes on, more people should be coming in. But at the moment it's very quiet in London Market, so we have to see how things go.
Outside Liverpool Street Station, cabbies waited and waited.
It's not good for us. We're going to sit here for, maybe 2 hours to get a job.
Doesn't look like there's many people in the city today, does it?
Less passengers, less people about. It has a great impact on our daily earnings. It affects me every day, means I've got to work longer.
In the Exmouth Arms in Clerkenwell, lunchtime was a write-off. At a restaurant just along the street, the shortage of punters was just one of the problems.
We've already got a very strained staffing situation in the hospitality industry that is being exacerbated by the train strikes, with people unable to get to work or turning up several hours late.
For a while, the picket line at Liverpool Street was abandoned, but it was pouring with rain, and the RMT boss insisted the strike was solid.
If you go around the picket lines around Britain, our members are out in force. The railway has been severely impacted by the strike action they're undertaking.
Some trains were running. The Elizabeth line had a good service on the central section, but there were no through trains from Berkshire or Essex.
Ministers argue the strikes aren't just having an impact on the economy today. They warn of long-term damage to the railways as passengers give up on train travel.
Even without strikes, there are 40% fewer commuters using trains than before the pandemic.
There's only going to be a sustainable future for our rail service if we can get people back using the trains. We can drive up those passenger numbers, drive up the revenues going into the system, and that's only going to be done by a reliable railway. So these strikes are going to damage the industry.
At times, the departure boards at some London stations looked respectable, but by this evening, most lines had come to a standstill. There's more of the same tomorrow and the rest of the week. Simon Harris, ITV News, Liverpool Street.
Well, I'm joined now by RMT union leader Mick Lynch. Welcome to you, Mick. Today, the government and Network Rail have been sounding more optimistic about reaching a deal. Do you know what's justified that?
Well, I'm optimistic. I'm always in a mood and a position where we want to work through the problems that the industry's got to try and get some agreements that our members can accept, and we'll put any reasonable proposals to a vote. So they know
specifically today, though, I wondered.
Well, they have been in contact with us via the media, and we're always speaking to the companies. So there's a lot of warm words, but we need concrete proposals that we can work with. We are in constant dialogue with the employers, Network Rail, and the train operators. They know exactly what needs to be done. We've told them face to face, and we can put stuff in writing to them if that's what they want as well. But the government needs to facilitate this deal. They keep saying that they're facilitators, but instead they seem to be blocking the way to a settlement by not allowing the companies to make reasonable proposals, which the companies know would work towards a settlement. We're hopeful that will change. We've got a meeting next Monday with the department, with the minister, and hopefully that can signal a way forward. But we don't understand why they've waited so long, to be honest with you.
As much as we like having you here, it does seem crazy, as you say, that this is happening via TV and newspaper outlets. Mark Harper this morning said he would rather be meeting with you guys this week than next week when it's next scheduled. Why isn't it happening this week? Why are you out striking?
Well, I've no idea why they didn't approach us. We met them on the 15th of December. They heard what we had to say in the presence of those companies, and we thought then there would be a real push to try and get an agreement. Instead, they seem to want the negotiations to go forward. I telephoned the companies, particularly the train operating companies, and said, have you got a new mandate? Is there anything fresh you can say to us? And they said, no, we're not allowed to say anything. Now, formally, they're still not allowed to say anything. There's nothing new that they can say to us. So the companies are forced to put forward a position mandated by the government that those companies and those railway executives know will be entirely unacceptable to all of the unions on the railway. So we need a bit of common sense approach to negotiations that doesn't torpedo the efforts to get a settlement. And that's where the government are at the moment. I hope Mark Harper and his team can change that position, and I'm willing to work with them to work up a settlement.
For people at home getting really frustrated that they can't get into their offices, that they can't go and meet friends and loved ones, what are the issues that are the sticking points? Help us understand this.
Well, the issues are job security. We want to maintain our members' jobs. We understand that there'll be a new staffing establishment, and we've got a whole raft of conditions that the employers are putting towards us. So there'll be no booking offices in the future under these proposals. Every guard on every train will be removed. The services will be de-staffed. They are willing to take risks with the safety regime, cutting the safety inspections by 50% and making our members work under a set of conditions that they find unacceptable in terms of work-life balance and social hours.
Do you accept that things will have to change, though? That maybe we can't have ticket offices everywhere, that there will be some level of automation?
There's always change, and there is automation now, and there'll be more in the future. What we need to do is get an agreement where we can adopt change through consent, not through imposition. At the minute, they're trying to force things down our members' throats that are simply untenable. Our members will decide when we've got a package that they can support through a referendum. So if we work hard with the companies this week, if they want to do it, we can work towards a settlement and get this dispute settled.
Look, our concern is always London, and those pictures of London today are so dispiriting. You know, what should be a busy, bustling city actually just looking a little bit damp and empty. Is there any fear on your part that actually you will be contributing to the long-term trend of people now staying away, working from home and not coming into their offices, and then actually we're going to rob our city of something?
Yeah, I'm a Londoner, born and bred. I want a vibrant London. I want vibrant communities all over the country, and I want those hospitality and entertainment sectors to be working, those other service sectors that we know. We need a settlement, and the government has got the key to that. They're just unwilling to use it. So my message to London is, put your pressure on your politicians, make the companies come to the table with a fresh mandate, and then we can get London and the rest of the country working again.
Mick Lynch from the RMT, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you can find a full guide for which unions are striking and when on our website. It's at itv.com/London. Now, an email leaked to ITV News reveals that ambulances in London will only wait for 45 minutes before leaving patients to be looked after by hospital staff. With huge pressure on hospitals, crews are often left waiting for hours outside A&E departments before being able to hand patients over. Sam Holder is outside St Thomas's Hospital tonight for us. Sam, what does this email tell us?
Well, Duncan, in short, what the email says is that for ambulance crews coming to hospitals in London like this, if their patient is in a clinically stable condition and the handover from ambulance to hospital takes more than 45 minutes, the crew should take that patient into the hospital, put them on a trolley or in a wheelchair, let the nurse in charge know, and then go off to their next job. And this is all due to the incredible pressure that the NHS in the capital is under at the moment. Record demand. These drop-offs are supposed to take 15 minutes, but as you said before, in some cases they are taking hours. The email was sent by NHS England in London. They've confirmed that to us. And the aim really is to free up ambulances and paramedics to go and treat more emergencies across London. But what's really not clear at the moment is what will happen to those patients who've been dropped off in hospital, how long they will be expected to wait on trolleys and in wheelchairs before they get specific care in the corridors of these hospitals. Already, the Liberal Democrats have said that they want a major incident declared in London, that the NHS is collapsing in front of Londoners' eyes, and that this is a matter of life and death.
Sam Holder at St Thomas's, thank you very much. Human remains have been found at Oakwood Pond in Harlow. Officers were called to reports of a suspicious object in the water at around 2 p.m. on Saturday. Essex Police is appealing for anyone with dash cam or CCTV footage from the time to come forward.
Due to the circumstances in which these remains were found, we believe the person's death is suspicious and are treating it as murder. Our investigation is in the early stages, and we have a large team of dedicated officers working around the clock on it.
A man has been charged with the murder of a missing woman who was last seen over 3 weeks ago after leaving her home in Deptford. Maureen Gittow, who's 24, was reported missing by her family on the 10th of December. She's yet to be found. Mark Moody, who police believe was known to Maureen, appeared at Bromley Magistrates Court today. 2 Londoners appeared in court today accused of burgling the home of cyclist Mark Cavendish. Oludewa Okorosobo and Romario Henry both deny robbery. The men allegedly threatened Cavendish, his wife and children, and stole luxury watches and luggage in November 2021. A third man, Ali Sasay, admitted the charge in August last year. Police have released photographs of 2 other men they want to speak to, George Goddard and Joe Jobson. Now, if landlords fail to tackle damp and mould problems, then more people could die this year. That's the warning from England's housing ombudsman. It comes 2 months after a coroner ruled the death of a 2-year-old was caused by extensive mould in his family's flat. In London, of course, the pressure for decent homes is greater than anywhere else. Yemi from South London told one housing campaigner the situation in her flat is so dire it's making her and her children sick. Rags Martel reports.
So let's look at the window.
It's everywhere. I mean, this is absolutely soaked.
Ooh. And you can see there's still water coming out from here.
Mould on the curtains, wall and floor.
Yeah.
Yemi, an NHS carer, lives here with her 2 daughters, and it's been like this for years.
The one that's sleeping by the window, she complained every day. Every day, Mom, we need to move out of this house. I'm going to say, council said if we live here, we're going to be homeless. So we don't have choice.
And all this mould is making the family sick.
So I'm just getting better. I'm having bad cold and I'm having running nose every time. You can say I still have some medications that I'm using.
That is just completely unacceptable. The fact that you're sleeping in here.
Yeah,
Visiting Yemi's flat in Lewisham, the housing campaigner, Kwejo Tweneboa.
There's water all over the wall.
Yeah.
All over the wall.
He uses a damp meter to measure it. Anything above 20 is considered very high.
Now, Yemi's bedroom is showing up at 40%, and she's having to sleep in here night after night.
And mould is a killer. 2-year-old Awab Ishak lost his life from a severe respiratory condition caused by living close to high levels of mould. It's thought almost 1 million households live with damp in the UK.
Not treating damp and mould with the urgency that it should be treated could result in someone dying as a result of exposure to damp and mould in their home. That is utterly unacceptable in the 21st century.
So this is your bathroom. As I've been saying for a very long time, this hasn't been going on for the last year. This has been going on for absolute decades, and we see this, especially in light of Awab's death with Yemi and with this family. It was absolutely sobering walking into that house. They've been complaining for 2 years about that, and nothing was done to fix it.
Since Yemi's flat was shown on ITV this morning, Lewisham Homes, who work on behalf of the council, have now started work to fix the problem. Rags Martel, ITV News.
Still to come on the programme, 75 years after the HMT Windrush docked, an appeal to find ways to celebrate its anniversary, and the mum who took up running in lockdown and now is breaking world records.
I don't know what came over me. I was just running and I didn't really feel my legs on the first 200. I did when I was getting towards the end, and then for like a whole week I felt like I was floating on the cloud. I was so happy. Yeah.
Before that, the widow of a man killed on a smart motorway says she fears she will die waiting for her husband's inquest to take place. David Jacobs from Edgware died 4 years ago after one of his tyres burst on a section of the M1 with no hard shoulder. He is one of 50 people to have been killed on smart motorways, which use the hard shoulder as an extra lane. Mrs Jacobs told our reporter Jay Akbar that they are not safe and she wants them banned.
I can't get over the thought of him dying by the roadside. No, I wasn't there. And you put a smile on your face, you go on, how are you? And inside you die a little every day.
Sally and Derek Jacobs would have just spent their 70th Christmas together. His absence was felt by everyone. It's almost 4 years since his tyre burst on a section of the M1, which was converted into a smart motorway with no hard shoulder. As he tried to climb out, a car struck his marooned vehicle. Sally was promised answers, but only last week was a date set for the inquest.
Out of the blue, after I'd spoken to the press, they suddenly phoned me the other day and said that it would be on the 5th of April. It's so far ahead at the moment, the age that I am, I'm thinking, well, will I get there? And whatever questions I ask now will not bring my Derek back. But I think somebody ought to be hauled over the coals to say over the delay.
We asked the Coroner's Court at Derbyshire County Council why it's taken so long. We also told them Sally would appreciate an apology for the delay. Today they confirmed the date of the inquest and told us our office will not be commenting any further. At least 38 people have died on smart motorways according to the latest official figures. Sally and other bereaved families want them banned and hard shoulders reinstated. They aren't alone.
Common sense tells you that if you break down on a motorway, you don't want to be stuck in a live lane. And not having the option of a hard shoulder makes it incredibly difficult for people. And unfortunately, we've seen a number of deaths as a result.
Behind each one, a grieving family, as Sally knows too well.
66 years is a long time to love somebody. And when we celebrated our 60th, I said to him, will we make 70? And we had a bit of a laugh about it, And the last Christmas we spent in the photographs over there with my son. Little did we know within 3 months he would be dead.
The government told us it's paused the rollout of smart motorways and committed £900 million to safety improvements. Any changes will come too late for Sally and Derek. She only hopes nobody else suffers what they have. Jay Akbar, ITV News.
Next tonight, campaigners have described it as a diamond jubilee for modern, diverse Britain. The 75th anniversary of the Windrush generation who helped rebuild post-war Britain will be marked later this year. Actors like Lenny Henry and historians will join charities across the capital in events to mark the historic milestone and celebrate the legacy of a generation. 75 years ago, the Empire Windrush docked in Tilbury. On board, more than 400 passengers from the Caribbean, ready to start a new life and help rebuild a Britain battered by war. They were the first of those who became known as the Windrush generation. Arriving in Britain between 1948 and 1971, many of them settled in London, making their mark on the capital. It was not an easy time. The new arrivals often faced racism and prejudice. In 2017, it emerged that despite being Commonwealth citizens, free to live and work permanently in the UK, many of the Windrush generation had wrongly been detained, deported and denied legal rights. A long fight for compensation began, one which isn't over yet. And this year, 75 years on from the arrival of HMT Empire Windrush, is the chance to celebrate everything the pioneering generation have brought to Britain. I'm joined now by Windrush campaigner Patrick Vernon. Patrick, what do you want this year to be like? How do you want it to feel?
75 years is a significant part of British history, and I think it's about recognising the contribution of the Windrush generation post-Second World War up to its legacy. There's about 4 generations of the Windrush community in Britain, especially in a place like London. If you look at the NHS, transport, all aspects of public life, arts, culture, we have influenced and shaped Britain. So I think it's fit and proper that we acknowledge this contribution and the history, particularly for young people.
How will the year look in terms of events?
There's going to be loads of events in London. I mean, every single all the boroughs will be doing stuff. There'll be some things being organised nationally. For example, the Royal Mint will have commemorative coins. The Royal Mail, the British Royal Legion are organising events to recognise the contribution in terms of world conflict. There'll be the V&A are doing plans, and I think every part of London, I want people to get involved and organise street parties. But more importantly, I think the key thing is actually, if I look at my parents, my dad's 91, past that Windrush generation, and that generation's disappearing. This is going to be the last significant commemoration to say thank you for those men and women who came as young people and have contributed to Britain. So talk to your neighbours, friends, people in care homes, and just say thank you very much for your contribution in terms of creating Britain as we know it today as a multicultural, multicultural Britain, and more importantly, the future that we've done for the next generation as well.
I suppose that is so poignant, isn't it? Because people haven't always felt thanked for what they gave to this country.
Absolutely. We know the Windrush scandal and other issues around discrimination. That's still ongoing. We recognise that. But we also have to recognise that contribution, that legacy as well. So I'm hoping that if people watching this, the clip tonight, people in the corporate world, people in all aspects of life and society, in communities, let's do something special for the Windrush generation and to acknowledge their contribution.
And people can get involved, as you said earlier, windrush75.org. They can plan their own events.
Yes.
And there's lots of websites and things to go to.
Absolutely.
This is everyone's year, isn't it?
It's everyone's year, and let's make it special for everyone, especially for the Windrush generation.
Patrick, thank you so much. Thank you. Now, the ITV News continues at 6:30. Let's have a look ahead now with Mary.
Coming up on the programme, the government admits the health service is facing unprecedented pressure as the NHS crisis deepens. Staff shortages and a wave of flu and COVID cases have seen patients forced to wait hours. Today, doctors warned of a civil emergency threatening the entire country. Also tonight, little hope of an end to rail disruption as the first of 5 consecutive days of strike action gets underway. A final standing ovation for Pelé as the football legend is laid to rest. And the January heatwave bringing temperatures of 20 degrees to parts of Europe. Will you join me for those stories and much more at 6:30?
Now, how many of us can say we picked up hobbies during the pandemic, let alone kept them up or turned them into a record-breaking career? Well, part-time hairdresser Sally Cook took up running near her home in Hitchin just before lockdown, having not exercised since she was a teenager. Now, at the age of 52, she holds British and world records. Anila Dami braved the rain to go and meet her on one of her many training runs.
This is one of 4 times Sally passed the finish line first.
A great run there by Sally Cook.
She now holds the British record in the women's 50 to 55 age group for the 100, 200, 800 and the 400 metres, which she also holds the world record for, training for the titles, whatever the weather.
It took a lot of hard work. I really did push myself. Even though I'm older, it was still felt quite serious. So yeah, but I enjoyed it all the way. Yeah,
have smashed records, and you're a world record holder.
Yeah, I can't believe that. It doesn't feel real.
Sally hadn't run for 30 years, but one cold day, while watching her children at their school club, she felt inspired.
I was actually just standing there watching my children and shivering, like cold, you know, and I thought, gosh, I could be just running around the track and keeping warm instead of, and I'm really unfit and I could be getting fit.
At the end of 2019, the 52-year-old joined the Luton Athletics Club running group and was so unfit she'd finished last place. But like many others during the pandemic, the part-time hairdresser couldn't work, and so she picked up the pace and won a 400-metre race.
When I finished, everyone said, "Sally, you're only 1 second off your age group British record."
A record she now holds.
For like a whole week, I felt like I was floating on the cloud. I was so happy. Yeah, it was amazing.
Come rain or shine, Sally's coach, who trains people of all ages at the club, has been cheering her on.
There was a girl who was pregnant who was quicker than Sally, but she came through so quickly, it was astounding. I mean, I've coached people for 30 years and I've never seen anyone as good as Sally, even at Sally's age.
Go on, Mum! She's the only athlete to hold consecutive British records for distances from 100 to 800 metres. Her daughter says she's proud.
Really happy for her. It felt like her kind of childhood running had come back to life again. So yeah, I was really happy for her.
Sally's shown you can kickstart a passion again at any point and run with it. And in her case, pick up some wins along the way. Anila Dami, ITV News.
The encouragement we need for those New Year's resolutions. On to the weather now. Here's James Wright with the forecast.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello there, good evening. Bit of a soaker of a day today and rather windy too, and there's plenty more of that sort of weather over the next few days. Plenty of fronts, plenty of low pressure systems drifting their way across the Atlantic. Really quite unsettled for the foreseeable future. Now, as far as the evening and overnight goes, plenty more outbreaks of rain, some of them a little bit more heavy than others. This is the final cold front of this little system. It'll just be leaving us early tomorrow morning. Temperature-wise, we'll barely sneak into single figures, rather breezy. We'll be quite happy with these temperatures by day at this point in January. Tomorrow then, say goodbye to that front, say hello to a little bit of winter sunshine. Difficult to say just how much there will be, but there will be enough of a breeze to help chop up any clouds, so I'm hoping for a pretty decent afternoon. Still rather windy, and that's going to temper the feel of the temperatures, looking at highs of 12 to 14 Celsius, so way up on what we would expect at this time of year. As far as Thursday goes, well, we're sort of in a bit of a warm front, a warm sector. This front will have drifted through the morning. A few outbreaks of light rain. We'll be stuck with a fair amount of cloud behind it and the odd drizzly outbreak. Still a little bit on the breezy side, but highs of 13 Celsius, which is still pretty remarkable, even with a lack of sunshine. Friday's looking bright enough. A ripple of high pressure. Might even see some nice bright weather. Slightly cooler, and you can already see the next bundle of rain heading in our direction. That will be with us overnight Friday into Saturday, so it might be a damp start, but hopefully brighter later.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Just before we go, London Zoo has started its annual stock take today to make sure it has an up-to-date tally of all the animals in its care. The process, which involves cataloguing all of the inhabitants, takes the zoo's keepers about a week. As you can imagine, it's not the easiest of tasks for some of the animals. The results will form part of conservation projects around the world. And that is it. We are back with the latest after news at 10. Coming up, Mary with the ITV Evening News. But from me and the rest of the London team, thank you for watching and have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.